This afternoon session is going to be focused entirely on building the visual assets for your campaign. So making graphics for social media space, email headers, anytime you need something that is visual. I'm hopeful that by the end of today, you'll feel a little more comfortable generating those images. So I'm excited to be here. My background is graphic design, so I get really excited about visual design, probably too excited. So y'all have to check me, and if I get too excited here, you'll can help me see the reality again. But my background's design. I'm a trained graphic designer and launched my business almost a decade ago, focused on that. And over time have evolved into helping nonprofits communicate their brand and their story through marketing, through visual design, through verbal communication. So like Catherine said, we've been doing a lot of nonprofit work, work with nonprofit organizations for a long time. So I'm hoping to impart some of that knowledge on you all in the next couple of hours, share some things I've seen and heard, and hopefully help you along your journey with building a big payback campaign for this year so you can stand out. So I have some slides prepared. I will be showing some things on my screen. And then the majority of our time together is going to be dedicated to allowing you to work in Canva, to build some designs, and get some feedback from me, from your peers. And hopefully by the end of today's session, you'll feel more comfortable in that program and have some like basic design skills under your belt to be able to go out and build graphics for your big payback campaign. So I'm gonna share a few things, and then we're gonna really workshop it as we move forward. So okay, let's see. I will start by sharing my screen here. Can y'all see this? Slides on the screen? Perfect. So I was announcing this as people were kind of rolling in, but a couple of things. We're not going to jump in at first with this stuff, but I want you to be ready when it's time. So I'm hopeful that you were able to get a Canva account set up before this session. So I want you to head on over to canva.com and log in there so you're ready to go when we start working in that. The other thing I want you to have at the ready is some graphics from bigpayback.org. So Catherine was talking about this toolkit. It's fantastic. There's all kinds of resources in here for you as you're building your campaigns. So on this page for toolkits, there's going to be a file called graphic design assets. And so I want you to have that for one of the later exercises that we're going to do. There's big payback logos in there and some other supporting graphics and colors that we'll end up using. So get those downloaded and set up so you're ready. The best way to learn design I've found is to do it. So the majority of our time together will be you doing it. So morning, we talked about messaging, writing. Now we're gonna work on some visual things. So my goal for you this afternoon is not to turn you into designers. I have no expectations that you'll leave after this 2-hour training and head into a career as a designer. It might spark an interest and you'll start developing your skills and then head on into that career. But I don't expect that after a couple hours. Instead, what I'm really wanting to do is help you to feel more comfortable making some digital designs. So design up front looks very complex. It looks kind of like magic sometimes. Like, how do we put all this stuff together? And I'm hopeful that I can break it down for you in a simple way where you'll feel more comfortable with it. I kind of think of it as like putting the bumpers up when you go bowling, right? Like you put the little risers up. I know I did this back when I used to go bowling. Put those little bumpers up. Those bumpers don't make me a bowler, right? Like, don't make me a great bowler. They just make sure I don't score a 0, that I don't hit the gutter every time, right? So I'm hoping to like give you some bumpers so that you can get into Canva and feel really good about some of the choices that you're making. So I'm hopeful that some of you have kind of been in Canva before. I'm also hopeful that some of you haven't and you're here to learn, and I'm really excited about that. There's something to be said about just like jumping in and jumping into the unknown. So I appreciate that. I do want to take a quick poll. I'm going to launch this poll. It should pop up on your screen. And I want to know what your experience level is with Canva. I want to know where you're at today. Ah, there it is. I have too many screens up on my screen. There we go. Okay, so no experience at all. Like I've opened it, I've tinkered around, but I need a little more help. Or like I've got this, I just want those bumpers. I just want to know more about design today. A couple more people to respond. Looks like we got one more, but that might be the phone. So, all right. Why does it go behind? Okay. So here's where we're at as a group. Can you guys see that? It popped up. Okay, thank you for nodding. So familiar with Canva, want to learn more about design, and we have a handful of people that are pretty new to the program itself. So that helps me to know where to like put the emphasis today. So cool. I'm very excited that you're all here. We're gonna rock this. It's gonna be a good time. Okay, so I want you to think about, you wrote some messaging this morning, or maybe you've arrived to this afternoon session kind of thinking about what you might do for the big payback. And I want you to kind of think about what's going to visually support that message. Like, how can you take those words and concepts you wrote and make them into visuals? If you were here this morning, you remember my fun summer camp for dogs that I got very excited about. I'm going to be using this fictitious organization to design Big Payback graphics for you and show you some examples of effective design. Just wanted to make you aware of that. So when you start seeing all the doggies later, you know why. It is partially because I'm just very obsessed with doggies. But part of it is because there's an intention there. So plant this question in your head, kind of what's going to visually support my campaign message. So a few things we're going to think about when we're designing a visual campaign is first thinking about what are all the design elements that I'm going to include. And that's where I'm going to break it down for you and try to make design a little less complicated. I'm going to show you some examples of effective design versus not very effective design, and we'll discuss and kind of break down what's making them work. And what's not. And then talk a little bit about building consistency. So that's really how you tie a campaign together in a visual way, is being very consistent in your choices. So we'll talk about that. Okay. So let's take a look at some design elements. Does anybody have any thoughts on what I might mean by that? You can shout it out or write it in the chat box. What are some design elements? Color, that's on my list. Color, definitely. What else? Font, yes. That's actually second on my list. Do you have my slides? Okay, and photo is third on my list. Someone definitely has my slides. And then logos. Okay, do we actually need to do this training or what? Because that's my whole list, guys. Color, font, photos, and Big Payback graphics. These are the elements that we're going to be using to build a visual campaign today. There's lots of other elements, shapes, right? Patterns, I don't know. All kinds of other stuff, but today we're focusing on these because these are the things you're going to need to make the Big Payback graphics, probably. So we'll start there. Color, everybody loves color. Color can be a little overwhelming to some folks because there are just so many, and how do you pick, right? You can just pick your favorites, right? But for effective design, a color does have meaning, right? So when we see warm colors like red, yellow, and orange, It usually makes us want to be active. It's stimulating. We often associate red with like passion, right? Or warning or something like that. Cool colors, which are like blue, green, and purple, are more calming. So if you're an organization that like does work that the effect is sort of calming, mediation, um, anything else like that, cool colors might be a great place to start. Neutral colors are often that neutral, right? They're trying not to stand out too much. It's good to, if you've got a super bright color, to pair it with a neutral, just so it's not blasting in your face, right? If we have really intense bold colors, they might be super saturated. Muted colors are much softer. So there's a little bit of association with colors and how we put them together. So just keep that in mind as you're picking colors. Your organization may already have a color palette. You probably already have a logo that features a couple of colors. And you're going to use those to be really consistent with your branding, right? And then you might pick another color that feels like it goes with them, and pick one color for like an accent, like something that you don't use very often, but you use it to call attention to something that's different. So color has associations. So this is the exact same message, it's the exact same writing, but just uses a very different background color. Tell me a little bit about what you feel when you look at these. How does the yellow one make you feel versus how does the black one make you feel? And again, you can write it in the chat or you can unmute and shout it out. The yellow makes the letters hard to read. I'm glad you brought that up. You guys are thinking like designers in terms of how the colors are interacting with each other. That's all true. I agree with all of that. The black is very direct, like it's not messing around. I like, is it Charisse? If I mispronounce it.
No, it's fine. That's Sharice.
Thank you. Actually, I love fine design. I follow you guys on Instagram.
Well, thank you.
It's a lovely account. There we go. Yes, the yellow is cheerful. The yellow feels warm and sunny, even though it's hard to read. So we can tweak that. There's some things I'm going to show you in a minute to help us with that. Black is direct. Like the black is saying, hey, this is serious. Like pay attention because it's serious. The yellow is saying, hey, pay attention because this is fun. Like this is more like this is fun. So neither one of these is right. Like this isn't a compare and contrast which one is right versus which one is wrong. This is there's a million ways to do this. This are two ways to do this in terms of color usage. And you get to pick based on the spirit of your organization and the mission that you have, which one's going to give the most impact and help with the statement you're trying to make. So even though we didn't change the words, the meaning feels different because we changed the color. Mm-hmm. Okay, there's like so much I could talk about in terms of typography, in terms of fonts. But for our purposes today, the thing I really want you to know and think about and make a note of is that our goal here is readability, is clarity. We want people, as they're scrolling, to be able to see your message loud and clear. So if you're using words, we're going to use very few words in our graphics, and we are going to pick a font that is bolder and bigger. So that the font at the bottom, I use for various things, but it's just not as easy to read as the one above. So if I'm trying to make a really effective, impactful statement, I'm probably going to choose the one at the top. Again, neither one of these is right or wrong. One just seems to work better for the intended space I'm working in. For our purposes in this campaign, I want you to just pick one font Be really consistent and use that one over and over and over. There are other rules about brand fonts. You can pick one for headlines and one for body copy and one for call out. But for these purposes, we're just going to pick one. Let's see. Oh, yeah. So one of the things I like to talk about is not using a busy background. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but sometimes you can. If what you're putting on top of the background, you make it impactful enough that you can read it. So in this situation, that little skinny typeface is not going to show up very well on these leaves. This one does a much better job at that. Okay, so photographs. Google image search is not a place to find photos. Why?
They're copyrighted, some of them.
Copyright, licensing, legal, yes, all of those things. So the challenge with Google image search is you don't know. The problem is you just don't know if the images are copyrighted or not. So for my summer festival for dogs, I'm like, I want a really great picture of a dog, right? So I Google searched, I found this guy. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's perfect. It's a big image. It's got a lot of clear space. I'm going to be able to put some type there. Done. But if I actually click on this image, it takes me over to this article, and you can see underneath each of these photos is a little copyright line. So this website insider either purchased these photos or they agreed to give credit here. We just don't know what the situation is. So it's best to avoid Google image search altogether, because you could actually get in some trouble doing this. This happened to a client of mine a few years ago. They gave me some images to work with. It was for a silent auction and it was for a trip. And so they went and found a picture of this particular hotel that was part of the auction lot. And a few months later, they got a call from a photographer saying, hey, you've used my work on your website. You owe me $500. So that was not a great situation for them to be in, and could have been avoided had they reached out to the photographer in advance for permission, or had taken their own photo of the hotel or gotten a photo from the hotel with permission to use, right? So it does happen, and it's so best to avoid Google image search. So instead, Canva has a bunch of images that you can use, and I'll point you in that direction once we're in there. There are a handful of really good royalty-free stock photo websites. So these are three of my favorites. I use pixabay.com all the time for some of my client work. So you go there, you can download a high-res image, and all of the images on that website are completely free to use. So jot those down or refer to this recording later to head to those websites if you need stock photography, so that you are not in trouble with the law. Don't want that, right? Okay, and then finally, Big Payback Graphics. So I already pointed you in this direction at the start of this session. Emily Rudsky, who's on the workshop with us, is a fantastic graphic designer for the Community Foundation, and she made all of these lovely assets for you to use. So nice little cloud logos, all kinds of good stuff in there for you to use. Just the date, that might be nice if you overlay that on one of your images, just to give on May 5th. My favorite is this. I love this plane with the banner. So that's there for you to use as well. Okay. Where's my Okay, so I hope that broke it down a little bit for you. So instead of like, oh, what am I going to do for these social media graphics, just think in terms of color, font, photo, Big Payback Graphics. That's all you have to use. So we'll take those pieces. It's almost like working a puzzle. We're going to take all those pieces and pull them together until it looks nice. So what makes effective design? So how do we combine these elements together to make something that looks good, that communicates the message that we're intending? I'm guessing based on the poll, this is why most of you are here. So I've got some examples I've made to share with you, and we can talk it out. We can talk about what's working and what's not working throughout. There are a lot of rules to design, to making an effective design. You can go to school for many years and learn these rules and earn a bachelor's degree in them. So I don't have all of that content for you, I'm sorry, in these 2 hours. Instead, what I've done is I've kind of summarized a little bit of it in 2 buckets that I think are really relevant to making social media graphics. So the first thing that I like to think about is how you're using the space you have. So you have, if we're thinking about Instagram, and we're thinking about that Instagram post, it's a square and it's very small. So we're thinking about this space. It's very small and it's the square shape. So because of that and the environment that it's in, so people are scrolling, it's very fast, right? So one of the first things we want to do is just limit the number of elements that we're using. So a lot of times you can get by just posting a really great photo, right? We don't have to design it at all. We don't have to do anything. I bet a lot of you are already doing this. Just posting a photo with a great caption, perfectly fine. If you start building if you start pulling other things in, we want to use good alignment and grouping of elements to make them look like they go together in the space. And then the last thing I want you to think about in terms of use of space is choosing a focus. So if we do bring in something beyond just a photograph, what do we want people to focus on? I'm going to show you some examples of that. The other bucket of thought I want us to have in terms of design is contrast. And some of you already are aware of this. Maybe you didn't have the name for it yet, but when you were talking earlier about how the white text on the yellow background was hard to read, it's because it had very low contrast. The white color and the yellow color are very similar to one another, and therefore it doesn't have much contrast, makes it harder to read. So we want to look for high contrast as we're working and avoid busy backgrounds. Okay. So help me pick this apart. So I've decided this is not very effective design. All right, I see Amy shaking her head. What's what's bothering you about this?
Too busy. It's way too busy.
It's too busy. What's causing it to be too busy?
There's text on top of the background, and then there's the logo on top of the pictures. That there's just too much going on.
There's just too many elements. There's just too many elements on this page. Jordan says too much to focus on. Teresa agrees it's too busy. Yeah, I think we get this. I think we look at this and it's very uncomfortable. Like you want to not look at this, right? Because there's too much going on. Also, thinking about the quality of the photos, all 4 of those dogs are running, which is energy. Visual energy is happening in 4 directions. Then we have a starburst, which is high energy. Then we have explanation points, and it's just like screaming at you. So we're going to tone this down a little bit. The first thing I'm going to do is remove some of the elements. I'm going to choose 1 dog to focus on in this post. Remember, we're working on a campaign. So it's not that I've slighted these other dogs. I didn't vote and pick this one and he's winning. I'm going to use those other 3 in other parts of my campaign, right? When I was talking about alignment and grouping before, I took the 2 pieces of text here and I grouped them together and I lined them up. So now that is more controlled. Now it's more comfortable to read that because they are grouped together up at the top out of the way. And then I grouped the Big Payback graphics and put them at the bottom because those go together. They're communicating a similar message. So controlling the space a little better through alignment and getting rid of some of the noisy elements. Okay, so here's another version of this one. This one's a little better, but I think there's still some room for improvement. What do you guys think?
Mhm.
What might you do to improve this one? Move the logo down. Yeah. Yeah, I would again group the logo with the we're participating just because it's pick one picture. Thank you, Gabe. Yep. So even though I added this black bar across, yes, Jordan, the photos, even though I added the black bar across to kind of focus attention there. So I've got focus, but those dog pictures are still very distracting. There's still way too much going on. So again, I'm going to simplify things. I've picked another dog for this graphic and I have reorganized things. This is alignment where all of these elements are lined up on the left and then the dog is on the right. So it feels pretty balanced here to have the groupings like that. So when in doubt, less elements, simplify. It's a campaign. We're in it for the long run. We'll get to feature everybody by the end. So good work, guys. We already talked about this earlier. So can't read that first one. Definitely can read the second one. The only change was color. When you're working with color, just pay attention to that. Get someone else to look at it. Perhaps we all see color differently. So younger eyes can deal with this better. So if your campaign is for 18-year-olds, then maybe that's okay. I don't know. But just be aware of who's looking, where they're looking at it. I put this out here because I do see this from time to time. I'm not sure why, but you can't read this. It's too busy, right? So a simple solution is just put a box behind it, right? Just separate it, get rid of the busyness, give it a plain space to exist on. All right, well, this one's pretty easy since you guys are all over this contrast thing. What's wrong with this one?
You can't read the
Jordan says pink font. What's wrong? You don't like pink? Well, regardless of whether we're a pink fan or not, you guys are totally onto it. Not enough contrast. Perfect. So yeah, I can't read that pink. It's way too close to the green. Like the colors are just very similar to each other and I can't read them. What would I do? I have two suggestions. I would love to hear if you guys have any creative solutions. What should I do? Yeah, changing it to white might work. I feel like the green is kind of a medium green, and that's going to be kind of hard to find a color that reads well on it. This is a little better. I changed the font. I changed the font completely. I made it thicker and I made it this like lime green so that it stands out. That helps. The background's still a little the color of the plane. Good eye. Yes, because look, that orange is standing out really well on the grass, the green and the bolder font. So this will work. This will work. It might take a little more maneuvering so that I'm avoiding all those little yellow flowers. That's part of the issue too. There's a lot going on in the background. And then someone said this too, can put a box behind it. That's the easy way out of that situation. Let's just put a box.
another color.
Huh? Say again? I didn't catch what you said, Pat. All right, well, yeah, so if we want that pink color, it's our brand color, we're in love with it, we refuse to budge, we can just put a box behind it and all is well. Yeah. Okay, well, cool. You guys are rocking this. You are well on your way. This is good stuff. Quick note on visual consistency. So one of the easiest ways to tie a campaign together is being very consistent in your design choices. This isn't necessarily campaign. This is just branding overall. So Second Harvest, when we think of Second Harvest, we think of that green color. That's sort of like, what would you call that? I'm really bad with color names. It's like a hunter green, forest green. They've got this other green that they use. But if you scroll through their social media, even this lady's wearing a green shirt. Look at that. Every time they post a graphic, it's green. They have a supporting color that's orange. But so we've got this white box that's faded out. Green box that's faded out, green box, white, green box, a little bit faded, green box that's faded out on top of an image. So just this subtle like graphic element that appears in all of their posts. They have this box that has a little transparency on it, so you can kind of see through the color box to see the image behind it. There you go, there's another one. So you might want to, their font's very consistent. They picked one and they rolled with it. They picked one and they rolled with it. Pink. That's a specific campaign. That campaign's always pink so that it looks different. And they run that at Valentine's Day. This is Valentine's Day related. So anyway, that is a great example, I think, of visual consistency. The way that they're treating the photos, the way that they've selected the font, and the way that they have been consistent with a color palette. Friends of Shelby Park did a great job last year with Big Payback campaign in terms of messaging. They also did a great job in terms of visual consistency. So the whole series, well, most of the series was just like this, where they wanted to feature a photo of their work, but then also tell us about the work on top of it. So white box, little transparency on it, big thick typeface, big thick font on top to kind of tell us what's going on. So this is super simple, right? You don't have to do anything crazy in terms of graphic design to be really consistent and be really effective. I don't know if you've noticed, but I haven't been saying good design versus bad design. I've been saying effective design, because good and bad are subjective words. If we say effective design, we're qualifying it and saying, okay, what are we measuring this against? So we are saying, is it easy to read? Does it convey the message I want it to convey? So we're making sure we're answering these questions and not just saying, do I like it? Is it good, right? So effective design. Okay. Any questions or thoughts? I got a few more things and then I'm going to do a quick demo. Then you're going to get to work. Okay. Wait, someone asked this question earlier. I think it was Jordan. Is Jordan still here? I think Jordan's gone. Oh, there you are. So when I'm sharing my screen, if you have a headshot or if you have your camera on, I can't see your names, which is very strange. But anyways, you're here. So you'd asked this question in the morning, and I said, hang tight. We're going to talk about that in the afternoon, because it really comes into play when we're talking about visuals. So Rest Stop Ministries, are you here? Someone from Rest Stop was here this morning. Maybe they're not here this afternoon. All right, well, Emily had pulled this as a good example and shared with me, and I'm glad she did, because this is something that does come up is, you can't show your people because they have a story that's confidential. So we are not able to use our people, because I feel like that's something a lot of organizations jump to in the Big Payback campaign is, okay, let's interview our people and share them, because like you can't get enough of seeing who's being impacted. I mean, there's been studies about this. Anytime you can show the connection to the people who are receiving the services, the stronger the connection is for the donor. And they're more willing to give, they give more. So there is a lot to be said about that. But if you're in a situation where you can't show your people, a few suggestions: using themes or programs in your images instead, and just be really direct about it. So they were highlighting a lot of their programs across the campaign, one of them being their group therapy sessions. Everybody receives this, and what they kind of go through. This is where her bravery and strength shines the brightest. I love that. Reminding me that, there's hope in this transition, hope in this journey. They also lean pretty heavily into getting people to donate during the timed prizes. You might learn more about this in other sessions or through other Big Payback resources, but there'll be windows of time where there will be prize money for most donations during the window of time or something like that. And so they leaned into that for the nighttime donation. So just reminding folks in the caption of what you do best, and then using a great visual that leads into your themes to tell the story. Okay, it's time to jump in. I am going to, good, thanks, Jordan. I'm going to poke around, point out some things in Canva, and then I have an exercise for you to do. I'm hoping is a quick one, and you're going to do that, and we're going to look at what you've done, and then I'm going to do a little bit deeper demonstration, designing a big payback graphic to show you that, and then I'm going to let you work on that for your own organization. So we'll do a demo, you'll do a very short exercise that just gets you familiar, and then I will do a big payback demo, and then you will work on Big Payback. Rachel says, do you recommend doing separate images for each of the social media area, Instagram, Facebook, and email? That's a great question. And you're going to hate the answer. It depends on where your audiences are. If you know, because there's advantages to both. So you don't want to be so repetitious that people don't want to see your images anymore. So if you are going to have the same images, you want to stagger it so that they build off of one another. There's also a lot of value in repetition in general, because social media spaces are very busy. So you might pick a key graphic that's going to repeat across all the channels, so that there is that repetition bit. Yeah. Emily, do you have any thoughts on that? I'll pick on you since you're here.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with what you're saying. It kind of both. I do think that having the consistency for this particular event would be helpful, because it will just push your message home more. And it's not like it'll be running all year necessarily. It's a short window of time, but ideally you might have multiple images you're using. So over the month that you're talking about this, or week, they're seeing multiple images, not just the same one over and over.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good way to think about it. Just like the dog picture examples I was showing you guys. Like, I was very consistent in that I'm using the same font and color palette every time, but then I picked a different dog image for each time I post. But it certainly does not hurt to put an image on Facebook and then put it on Instagram the next day, right? Because some people might be on Instagram and some people might be on Facebook, and oftentimes they're not on both. So yeah, that depends. But Yeah. Okay. That's a great question. Does anybody else have any other questions before I jump into this demo? Okay. Well, and if you think of anything as I am doing this, just drop it in the chat or do the little raise your hand feature or shout it out. I'm happy to answer questions. So, okay, so once you log into Canva, you're going to see a lot of things up front. There are a lot of pre-made graphics and templates that you can use. If you're making something very fast and you don't want to think about it, you can just click on one of these and use it as your own. I try to steer you away from that just because I think you can make something custom that's unique to your organization in just a few steps. It's a little easier than it sounds, I think, if we break it down. So when I log in, I usually head on over to this button that says create a design. And we're going to make an Instagram post. If it doesn't show up, you can search for it. There's all kinds of things. We can do a video, we can do a story. I'm just going to stick with the general post. And then this is our design studio space. All the things that you need will be on the left here. So the first thing that pops up again is templates. So we might take that and say that's great and download it. And then we're done. Or not. Maybe we jump in and make something that is our own. So I'm going to click create design, Instagram post, open this up. And the first thing I'm going to do is put a background here. We're not uploading anything for this demo. We're using the tools that are just in Canvas to make a thing first. Then we're going to start getting really custom uploading other things. So first we're headed to background. I'm going to just find a background here. And if you click on something in this panel, it's going to pop up. This is the piece that you're working on. It's in real time here. So anything you see there is what the graphic's going to be. So we'll drop that in. And then I'm going to add some text. So I click on text and we can add a heading. We're going to probably stick with heading for social media graphics because it's big, takes up space. We don't usually work with a lot of body copy in this format. So I'm going to add a heading. So I'm just clicking and dragging to move this thing around. And that, do you see that pink line that's popping up from time to time? That's an alignment tool. So there aren't any other elements on the page. Let me add something else. And so what it's going to do is say, well, if you want those to line up together, here's a handy guide. So it's got these pink lines. If I move it over here, so that's useful if you're trying to align elements and you want them all to feel like they go together. So add a heading. I can click in there and say splish splash. Is that how you spell splish? That doesn't look right. Maybe that's not a real word. It's underlined. It spells checks for you. If I want to change the color, I will click on this. Colors up here. I'll pick a color. That's nice. And I think that's all I wanted you to do for this one. Is find a background image. Don't upload anything new. Just find one in here. And then add some text on top. Fun little headline. Then you're going to say download up in the right corner. And it saves as you go. So you don't have to worry about losing any of your work as you're working. It'll save as you go. Click download. It's going to download this PNG file, which is perfect for web. So you don't have to change it to anything here. And then this little crowd means that's the Canva Pro, the paid version. I think most of us are working the free version, so we don't have these options for now. I'm going to click download. It'll end up somewhere on your computer. Mine goes to my downloads folder. And then I'm going to try this in the chat box. I'm going to see if I can add this to the chat file. No. Maybe I don't have that setting here. All right, well, while you guys are working, I'm gonna kind of figure that out because I wanted you to share these with me. I want you to see, I want you to do this and then share. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to head into Canva using only the elements in there. Design an Instagram post for your favorite holiday or season. So you're going to use a background image that's preloaded in Canva, and you're going to write a short headline. The cheesier, the better, guys. I'm very much looking for cheesy. You saw my Bark the Calendar post for Big Payback for my doggy festival. I'm all about the cheese balls. So headline. So background color, choose a font, set your colors, export the image, and then I'm going to see if we can drop it in the chat. All right, I am loving what I see so far in here. If you're still working, feel free to keep working. I'm just gonna look at some of these. Which one do you guys want to look at first? Which one looks? This one's nice. Let's see this. Summertime. Very nice. Yeah. So the background is a little busy, but pretty consistent in terms of color. So we can put a more fun font on top of it and it's still readable. So love it. Who made this one?
Sharice.
Of course I found yours first. I love it. I love it. Yes. Makes me want to be at the beach for sure.
Yes, I want to get there so bad.
So bad. So bad. Oh, got it. It's not Florida. Another summertime. Yeah. Summer in Tennessee. It's hot, it's humid, but at least it's not Florida, which is funny because we're like, let's go to Florida. Somebody's got some stories that we may have to discuss over happy hour drinks after this workshop. But you know what? I pulled this one open to point out that sometimes you can use a little bit more text on the image, but you have to be very, very controlled in how you're using it. And this person did that, made a very clear headline, right? Summer in Tennessee is bigger and it's a different color. And then all of the text is below it and it's black and it's smaller. So it's very clear to me what order I should read things in. And they placed it over this image with a very solid color background. So there's no confusion. It's very easy to read. Gabe, no worries. No worries at all. And it's funny to think about Florida in general. Some parts are more Florida than others, aren't they? All right, that one is fun. Let's see. Let's go to a snow one. Snow much fun. I can't believe somebody picked snow after all the snow we had. You're still not over it. You're still very excited. Yeah. What I love about this is the use of color, right? The image is very muted and then the type is black. So it all feels very together. Like it feels very consistent in terms of color use. Placement of the type is nice up at the top, an expected place to find the text. So it's very comfortable to look at this one. Whose is this? Who made this one? Amber? Love it. Amber, were you raising your hand to say this was yours or did you have a question? Because I have to put your hand down. Very nice. All right, let's see. Refresh and see if there's any more in there. I love it. Somebody just can't get donor messaging out of their head. We're thinking about spring, but we're still thinking about donations, right? Spring forward and plant your support today. Tell me how you arrived at that color. I think I have a guess, but tell the group. Whoever did this one. Or is this somebody without a mic? Nobody wants to claim this one? I took a look at the photo palette. Yeah, so in Canva, when you're working on a design, when you add text, document colors, for some reason, sometimes it will show all the colors that are in the photo. And then you picked a color that was darker. Good, good. Yeah, darker because we want more contrast. Yeah, very nice. So that type color feels like it goes really well with that image because it was literally pulled from the image. Good work. Really good work overall. Look at this. This one's fun. Wash your hands, you filthy animals. That's great. Whose is this? Who's going to claim this one? Christian. Love it. Love it, love it. Yeah. And you know, like it's humorous, you know, the content's humorous, but then like it's super easy to read because the black text on the white background, it's not interfering. The bow grabs my attention because it's very big and red. So yeah, good work. I'm very proud of all of these. I think you guys are on the right track for sure. Okay, so moving on. I want to show you, so that is the easiest way to use Canva. It looks like you guys have figured it out. Some of this tech stuff is easier to discuss while you're working on it. So if anybody has questions and you want to stick around with me after we're done as a group, feel free to stick around. I'll be happy to kind of guide you through some of this. So that is the simplest way to use Canva, just using all of the great tools that are already there. They have, you know, trained designers making these wonderful things for you to pick from. So feel free to grab any of that. Actually, as I was making all of these demo files, I was very happy to discover that I could use almost any of these background images and put text on top of them, and they were easy to read. Except for that crazy M&M's one. That one was an outlier. But in general, most of these, like even this one, I put text on and it was okay. I don't know what, do you guys hear that sound? It sounds like my husband is bowling in the kitchen or something. I don't know what's happening back there. Even that was pretty easy to read. So feel safe using these backgrounds, you know, from time to time. If there's just a message you want to get out there, I might recommend if you do that, like pick one or two that you decide are yours and that you're going to use for all of your posts so that you feel really consistent. All right, so what if we want to start bringing in some of the big payback elements? What if we want to bring in some of our own brand design elements? We can do that. We can build on these simple tools and add in some new things. So underneath templates, there's going to be this uploads button. And this is where you can go and upload all of those great design elements that Emily's put together for us. So we can take those and say open, and they'll all populate in there. And then it's just as easy, it's just an easy click on it to add it in. Okay, do you guys recommend that I keep this background? That is hurting my eyes. Oh, okay, that's better. All right, just for now. And it's still uploading some things, so you can tell because it's doing that little wavy thing. These graphics aren't very big. There's just a lot of them, so it's taking a minute. So once we've got that in there, let's see if we can design design something for the Big Payback. I already uploaded my dog photos. So I'm going to try to make that bark your calendar graphic that I had showed y'all before. So I've uploaded my dog photos. Let's see, let's click on this guy. It's anytime you click on something, it's going to pop it into your design area onto the canvas, the Canva. And I'm going to make this bigger so that it fills the background. And I don't know if you noticed, well, maybe you didn't because the background is the background. But when you do this, when you add a photo, if you stretch it out to be as big as the whole shape, it kind of locks it in place. So now that's a background image and I don't have to worry about it moving around. If that happens and you do want to move it, you can right click on it and say detach from background. And I gotta start over there, but because I want to kind of place him more over there because I'm going to put my text here. So I'm moving that around and then I'm going to go grab some text and I'm going to move it up here. I'm going to say bark your calendar for May 5th. I'll click on and that is there. We'll leave that there for now. Custom colors. So here we go. This is what I was trying to show a minute ago. But Canva's pretty smart and pulls colors that are in the photo. So any colors that are present in this photo, it pulls them out because that kind of can make a cohesive design if you are just doing that. There's some default colors down here. What if I want to bring in my own brand colors? So if I want to bring in the colors that are specific to this summer camp, there's a couple ways to do that. One is to click on the color and put the color that you want. Are you guys familiar with this color code situation? This hashtag with some numbers? Yeah. Well, good. So one way to do this is if like say you're in Word or anywhere that you make colors, if you are in Word and you go to more colors and you click on RGB sliders, you're going to get this series of numbers and letters, and you can copy that and put it in here, and it's going to pull up that exact red color. So if you've worked with a designer in the past, they may have given you a toolkit that includes some colors. I know Emily has done that for us for the Big Payback. So these numbers across the top, if you type in, well, let's see if I'm fancy enough to do this at the same time. If I type in 2CBEC3, I'm going to get that blue color. So that's what those numbers are for. So if you want to pull in something like that, and then it starts suggesting some color palettes for you. Canva is very smart. So there's that, and then let's see. If I put that in there and I go to the color, they've uploaded. So just like it's pulling the colors out of the pixels in the photo, it's pulling the colors out of this image here. So I don't have to key all of that in. I can just find it from there. So I'm just going to stick with white, and then I can delete that. I don't need that anymore. Stick with white, resize it. Okay, so the custom color, the background image. Let's add the Big Payback logo somewhere. And let's add the we're participating. And I'm moving this around, kind of following. So it gives me that little center line to line that up. Okay. And then I feel good about that. I'm going to download it as a PNG file. And now I can post that on Instagram. It automatically saves all of this for you. So there it is. if I'm making all of my campaign graphics, I would go back to this and I would say make a copy, and then I would use that as my starting point. So then I can right click to detach that image and then put in a different image. I'm going to make the one with this guy. This can come together pretty quickly once you get all the elements in there. Done. Download. So good. So custom colors and pulling in all the graphics. So next, I want you to build your own. So use Canva to create a We're Participating image. So maybe go to one of those stock photo websites, Pixabay, Unsplash, or Pexels that I listed before. I'm going to type those in the comments since I don't have those slides up anymore. Maybe you have a photo of your own that you brought with you, or you just know you have from your organization. Or look through Canva. If you go to photos, we can search dog, and it will tell you if it's free. There's some cute puppers. Okay. I like to scroll down a bit because I always assume that the ones at the top are the ones that people are using the most because we're working fast and somebody else. So here's a doggy in Florida, living his best life. Mark your calendar. So pull images from there, from one of those start websites, or use one of your own and create some language around marking your calendar for May 5th to start donating. Start donating on May 5th, come back here on May 5th, something about that, and use one of the Big Payback graphics. So let me give you a few minutes to work on this as well, and pop it in that same folder, if I can find it. Put that back up. And when you're done, pop it in that same folder, and let's see some good work here. As you're working, if you need help, raise your hand, write it in the chat, or shout it out. And it does look like we're going to wrap up things a little sooner than 3 o'clock today. You guys are working very efficiently. So I will stick around till 3 o'clock, even after we're done with the group session. If anybody wants to share anything with me, get my feedback, want some more specific help with what you're working on. I just want to note that. But the next few minutes here, let's work on some graphics and pop them in that folder.
Stephanie, can I ask you a question? It's going to be a little bit harder to type in, but when I do my graphic in my original photo, then it wants to, like, the we are participating in the Big Payback, it wants to make those big too. How do you make it so it doesn't pop into being big in the whole graphic?
I was muted. I think I know what you're asking. So
Yeah.
you're typing out the phrase and you want some of it to be big and some of it to be small.
No. So I have my background graphic, but then when I try to pull over like we are participating, it makes that huge covering the whole graphic, covering the whole Instagram post.
So it's like that?
Yeah, but it's the we are participating banner.
Oh, I see.
It's not the text part.
Gotcha. Okay. So, so like if I put that in, it's taking up the whole space. You should be able to resize it. There should be, like, if you click on it, there should be these little dots in the corners to pull and it'll resize. Does that work?
Let's see. No, I mean, it's like immediately making the whole thing. It's immediately stretching it.
Okay.
I've experienced that. It becomes the background.
Yeah, right.
Like your picture goes away and your picture becomes the
Right.
graphic.
Okay, so in that case, then you need to right click on it and select the bottom option that says detach from background. If that's what's happening.
Okay.
Did that do it?
Maybe.
Thank you, Jordan. For jumping
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Perfect. Perfect. Yeah. Sometimes we don't always have the words to ask the question, you know? And so the word background clued me in. Thank you, Jordan. And that's exactly why I asked you guys to ask your questions to the whole group. So perfect. Glad that worked. Yeah, that tripped me up too when I first started using Canva. I would get very upset. Why aren't things moving? And then I realized it's because it's making it the background. The other thing I don't think I covered was this button on the left called Elements. So that's where you're going to find like color, like just plain color boxes to be able to put behind things. And I want this to be behind the Big Payback logo, and anything I add goes on top. So I'm going to right click on that and say send to back, and that's going to put it behind. If you click on items and hold down shift, you can select multiple items at once, and then I can move them all together. So I want these things to go together. All right. So remember your tips, just keep it simple, right? Only 4 elements: photo, font, color, graphic, and your Big Payback pieces.
Hey, Stephanie, are we adding it to the same Google Drive?
Yes, please. I dropped the Google Drive link in the chat again.
Perfect.
So yes, pop it in the same folder. Cool. I'm seeing a few of them already flowing in. Awesome. I think in about 3 or 4 minutes here, I'll start wanting to dig into them. So start making some final decisions on this and upload them to that Drive folder so we have some things to review. All right. See 4 in there. Let's start putting final touches and export a couple more. Oh, Jordan, thank you. I'm glad you appreciated that. I think I like zoned out there for a second. Just I'm glad I came back. So I just got in there and started moving things around. But yeah. Oh, good. Okay, just head out. All right, let's see. I'm still screen sharing. Yes, I'm still seeing. Oh my gosh, we've got some good stuff, I think. Let's see how this is looking. Well, Gabe just left. I wish she had stuck around. That's a nice one. Mark your calendar for May 5th, the big payback. Lovely. Okay, first of all, really nice engaging image here. We're always drawn to hands, to eyes, any kind of human features because we are human and we are always drawn to those things. So love the image choice. This is also really great for that confidential, if you've got a confidentiality issue too. We're not showing any faces here. This could be anybody's hands. But what it's showing is that connection, right? This like warm human connection that you're reaching out and helping others. Mark your, I love the big beefy typeface. I love that it's something different than just like that simple sort of blocky type we see a lot. My one critique on that is that the 5 is getting a little bit lost, I think. I would find a way to move that around so that May 5th could be on a line by itself. So that that's together and it doesn't get on that wood knot there. This is great. Any other thoughts on this one? Is this yours, Jordan? I see a comment there about finding a picture.
Yes, it is mine.
Nice work. Very
Thanks.
nice work. Do you see what I'm saying about the 5?
Yes, I just edited actually. I moved it onto the same line as May and kind of made it smaller so it all fit together.
Yeah, sometimes that's a little bit of a puzzle. I don't know if y'all saw me working while you guys were working, but I ended up like taking some words out and putting them in their own text box so that I could move them exactly where I wanted to move them because I was getting frustrated with some of the line spacing. So I ended up just taking bark out of there and doing its own thing with it. So sometimes that's an option too, but it looks nice. So if you were going to do this for the campaign, I don't know if this is a start for that or not. It might be a first draft or it might be the start. We'd be really consistent in finding like really nice warm images. We might use a wood grain texture throughout. We would definitely stick with this big beefy typeface in all of our designs. Very nice. Let's see, we've seen a lot of dogs. Let's switch over to something else. What did you say? May 5th. Very cute. I love it. I love it. Whose is this? Charisse. Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
Yes. So showing faces, happy faces. I love it. Sharing the news. This is something we can all connect with. That image there, kind of Maybe not right now during COVID times. We can't get that close to our friends, but we can hope
Right, right.
one day we can whisper secrets again. But love it. So what did you say? May 5th to 6th, the big payback. I think if I was going to critique this one, the only thing I would say is that this is kind of trapped up there. It takes me a little while to find it, and it feels a little uncomfortable, kind of trapped up there. So if there was room in this picture, I would move the girls down a little bit, or I would make the type just
Okay.
a little smaller and move it over to the right so that we see it a bit.
Okay.
Otherwise, this looks awesome. Super fun. What's happening here? Can ever go wrong with a transparent color block behind type on an image. Big payback, very nice. I also would make the same comment here as I just did on Charisse. I would probably take that and move it down. Anytime we put something that close to an edge, it starts to get lost. It starts to get forgotten because we look mostly towards the center and then out. So we try not to shove things in the corners like that. I'd move all of that up a little bit. Otherwise, whose is this? Tell me about this image. How does this connect to your organization? Or were you just playing? Just playing. All right. I was like, those are some nice shoes. Are you giving those away? Yeah. Oh my goodness, look at this. I love it. Great image, great image. Did you find this in Canva? Whose is this? Yes, this is in Canva. Lovely. Giving never gets old. Save the date. Very nice. So if you left it like this, we'd put the date in the text, right? We would make sure to say May 5th, really big, right at the beginning of the caption, right? Or we would add the date under save the date small. The Big Payback logo is getting a little lost here on this guy's shirt. I might move it out, maybe put it over here with the we're participating, or maybe really small under save the date, or maybe put a box behind it. Because that photo is so fun. It doesn't need anything else on it. This is awesome. Mm-hmm. Get excited. Love it. We are participating across the bottom. Mark your calendar. Whose is this? Amy, this one's yours. I love it. So in this, I could see you doing a whole campaign where you're featuring some of your kids, you know, and telling their stories. And this little girl's the one kicking it all off. She does look very excited. So the message matches the image. And then we've got the green that's pulled from the Big Payback image. So it feels very connected together. Feels really good. I might make this more of like a banner and pull it out of the corner, kind of like, well, I lost it. But at one point I was messing around with this. I don't know if y'all saw, but I had sort of a rectangle popping up here that I was putting behind the logo. I might do that instead. So it continues that sort of banner look. Because right now this is kind of stuck to that corner and I'm bouncing back and forth between them. If it's a banner, then it feels like it's draped over. Just to give it a little more room. Very nice. This is a great image. Is this a stock image or is this someone's people? It's a stock. Yeah, I'm proud to see that. Good. Very nice. We are participating. That's very easy to read. I think if I was going to critique something on this one, it might be that the font is just a tad hard to read. And I think it's because it's a little spaced out and the letters are kind of skinny. So I might pick a bigger, beefier typeface, kind of like in Amy's. And Amy's had this thicker one. I bet that would stand out better in that spot. But other than that, this is really well done. The image is central, and then all the other text supports it. Good stuff. This one's great too. People loving Nashville. Big Payback. The color, spot of color for emphasis there. Mark your calendar, May 5th. There's a sense of anticipation in this image. I'm like, what's in that van? And then I would want to read the caption to find out what's happening in there. This is good stuff, guys. I'm very proud of the work I'm seeing today. That's really all I had for this afternoon. You guys were incredible. Thank you for all your hard work and your kind attention to the session today. If y'all want to stay in touch, you can find me on Instagram there. Stone and Still Creative is our account, and sometimes we share some tips and some things we're doing, so might be fun to follow. Otherwise, that is everything.